Okay. Looks like everything's running where it's supposed to. Looks like we've got the chat connected correctly this morning. We're we appear to be in better shape than whatever the hell went wrong yesterday. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Democrat obsession with abortion. Righty. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning. Uh, First things first. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what the hell happened yesterday. We got about 6, 7 minutes into the show yesterday, and I was telling a story about why we didn't have a show Friday. Uh, I'm much better now. Much better today, by the way. My back still hurts, but I can get up and move around on under my own power pretty good. So, uh, but yeah, yesterday it just dropped off. The show just cut out on us. I don't know what the hell happened. Um, but that's it is what it is. So what I was planning on talking about yesterday, I'm going to touch on it just a little bit. Uh, Basically, there were several Supreme Court decisions last week. Uh, Not least of which was one that explicitly referenced the question of whether or not a jury must be unanimous in a decision to convict on criminal charges. And the SCOTUS decision was yes, the jury must be unanimous. And this is especially interesting because in the recent case, the 34 counts based on the whole Stormy Daniels madness, where an obviously corrupt judge and an obviously corrupt prosecutor went out of their way to incorrectly apply the law in order to skirt the statute of limitation restrictions on what other law enforcement agencies have already investigated and determined not to be crimes. I mean, it's psychotic the amount of unlawful legalese it took for them to conduct this particular lawfare. And at the end of it, Judge Mershon, the clearly corrupt, clearly compromised judge, went out of his way to explain in jury instructions that no, you do not need to be unanimous in your understanding of what the underlying crime, which converts this non-crime outs, which converts this misdemeanor charge, which has already been cleared of wrongdoing, and isn't available for prosecution because of the statute of limitations, but is being converted by an extrajudicial claim that is external to the jurisdiction of this court, that a separate federal felonious engagement upgrades this alleged misdemeanor. But the jury didn't have to agree on what the underlying crime was. It could be a different financial crime, it could be a different cover up crime, it could be whatever. And they did not agree unanimously. And the Supreme Court has now said, no, no. But now take it with a grain of salt for now, because in fairness, this is a decision on a different case. But the precedent should be visited and will certainly be mentioned in Trump's appeals here, and will likely have an impact on the direction of that particular proceeding. But the Supreme Court has said, no, no, there must be unanimity on this decision. So that's the big one that came out last week, as far as how everything affects the political stance. There were several others that we may get into in a later show, but for right now, not just yet. Today's Tuesday, so this upcoming Thursday, there are a few things going on. I am probably not going to try to do a live stream to go with the debate. More likely, what I'm going to do Thursday evening while the debate is on is I'm going to watch it, and I'll be out here in the studio, and I'll have the debate running on one monitor, and I'll have Twitter up, and I'll just be live commenting and maybe dropping some fact checks and graphics as we go. And if I'm feeling froggy, what I may do is rip down the video as it's being broadcast live, so that I can cut out clips and make memes out of it. It might just prove to be entertaining. Sergeant Major says he's not going to waste his time watching the debate. I'm gonna waste my time watching the debate, because I want to catch some fantastic Donald Trump one-liners and zingers. If I can clip those and have them available for Friday morning, that'll be awesome. If I can clip them fast enough to make it entertaining, I might just stay up and do a live stream after, but I'm not making any promises on that. It's going to depend on how the president and the former vice president perform. But I will probably be live commenting and just getting a chuckle out of the whole thing. The other thing I'm going to be looking closely for is any opportunity to clip and immediately redistribute anytime that Biden drops us another Batacaf care or Truman over the pressure, any of those classic gaffes that we get out of Biden. It would just absolutely make my fucking millennium if I can catch old Joe screaming, "My butt's been wiped," in the middle of the debate. Now, that said, going into this debate, one of the things that we're going to be watching for there's a couple things. The biggest is how very lopsided and pro-Biden the debate is. So it's being moderated by two people, one of whom is Jake Tapper, who has basically made his career over the last decade out of calling Trump a Nazi over and over and over and over again. Donald Trump is Hitler, right? Donald Trump sounds like a Nazi. Donald Trump's a Nazi. Donald Trump sounds like Hitler. Donald Trump is Hitler. Donald Trump is worse than Hitler. I would rather have Hitler than Donald Trump, right? That's kind of the psychotic ratchet. And Sergeant Major points out there's nothing new to be learned about either one. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there, Dad, because in this particular debate, despite the stack against the Donald, it would not surprise me to see him take this opportunity to make specific campaign promises as explicit rebuttals to fact check false claims made by the former Vice President Joseph Robinette. My spinal fluid is leaking into my oatmeal brain. Biden. So I'm not counting on it, but the possibility definitely exists. Now, and the other thing to watch out for there is CNN has just, I mean, like I said, you got Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, both just total TDS sycophant psychopath are, it's going to be the Candy Crowley correcting Romney and getting her fact check wrong in the middle of a debate all over again. Except these are people who actively and motively lie. It says maybe Trump will promise to pardon Hunter. I hope not. I'm the more I look at it, the more I think about it, the more happy I am about Hunter being convicted on this particular gun charge. And I want all of you, all of you, all of you to call your senators, your congresspeople, your district attorneys, your states, your secretaries of state, your anybody. Call everybody and call the NRA, call every pro 2A organization you can think of to file amicus briefs, to file, and to go after overturning Hunter's conviction on the basis that the form that Hunter lied on, that the existence of that form, and by extension, the existence of federal firearms background checks, are violative of the Second Amendment prohibition on the federal government restricting your right to keep and bear arms, on the Fourth Amendment prohibition on the government's incursion into your properties and papers, and the Fifth Amendment prohibition on the government's unwarranted incursion into your self-incrimination. So the fact of the matter is that the existence of the ATF, the associated laws, and the document over which Hunter was convicted are violative and offensive to constitutional rule of law. Okay, that's 13 minutes of not the topic I promised with the thumbnail. So, and sorry for the generic thumbnail this morning, but Photoshop broke, so I have to re-download that. Fun. Here's what I wanted to talk about, and I hope Cameron, I hope you catch this episode later, and I will be happy to revisit this one. I'm actually going to advance a theory that Cameron advanced first. I couldn't get him on this morning. I mean, our boy is out working his absolute ass off, and I couldn't be more proud of him for the hours he's putting in. I sure hope that he catches up to him and gets back to where we can get him on the show again. I can promise you this. It'll probably be a hot damn minute before he's back in studio, because y'all, when I moved recently, I moved to the middle of fucking nowhere. Like, y'all remember when Schmecker asked the guy, "Where you going?" "You nowhere." Yeah, I actually went there. I didn't just sit still. I found nowhere and I went there. But this morning I was doom scrolling on Twitter thinking about what I want to talk about this morning, and there were a couple of things that I considered. Excuse me. And one of those was, in fact, there's some articles out right now about a renewed interest in celibacy, and a renewed there was a new positive study on the effect of abstinence. And of course, for many years now, the Democrats have been pushing back against the practice of abstinence education in favor of quote unquote safe sex education. Well, okay, so you can wear a raincoat, you can take a pill, you can use devices, watch the calendar, what have you. There are many methods. Xander says, I figured you'd be talking about Assange today. I want to see some more development there, and I still have I still have mixed feelings about the Assange situation, Alex. I'm glad he's free, sort of. I still have some concerns there, and I'm less conflicted on a. To be frank, I'm less conflicted about Assange than I am about Snowden. Uh, or no, I'm sorry. I'm less conflicted about Snowden than I am about Assange. And what was the tranny's name? I forget the other one. That one I'd hang that one. He should be released into the hands of a SEAL team. Well, it won't be SEAL Team 6. They're not big fans of Joe. Not after he outed them. After after he outed them for what's his face, uh, Osama. Anyway, so back to it. The There are some positive reports coming out about the obvious benefits of abstinence education versus safe sex education. Because you know what? Abstinence is guaranteed, right? You got one fail in the abstinence, and that's a pretty good track record. You know, in thousands of years, and it's been 2,000 years since the one fail. That's pretty rock solid track record for a success practice, right? So abstinence is a winner, right? You're not going to deal with teen pregnancy if you're not having teen sex. Now, I'm not a total prude, and I understand that humans have sex. Um, and let let me be frank with you. Outside of being married, you don't really have sex. Essentially, you masturbate. Once you're married, different story. Once you're married and cohabitating, you are never not having sex. Every bit of it is part of the ritual. Okay, that's an important distinction that is lost in. But the Democrats are obsessed with promoting sex, sexuality, weird sex, sex with children. Obsessed with it. They go out of their way to glamorize and glorify. And we've talked about this a few times. The interest, the objective of the entire LGBT community and their entire political movement is to advance the protection of pedos. And it's not actually because the Democrats are totally obsessed with having sex with children, but rather it is for a few other reasons. One, in order to maintain the incredibly valuable child slave trafficking industry, the entire slave industry. Remember, there are more slaves, without talking about the child sex trafficking, just actual labor slaves working in lithium mines, diamond mines across Africa. There are more slaves today than at any point in history. Currently. This is true currently. This was not true before Obama was president. It was not until Obama was president that the open air slave markets reopened in parts of Africa. And this industry started to explode dramatically. So the whole LGBT political agenda is bent toward, toward crafting a protection for the child sex trafficking for the purpose of protecting the entire industry, the entire $1 trillion industry of slave trade globally. And then there's the other piece, abortion piece. So, like I said a minute ago, I was doom scrolling Twitter, and all these are from the last 24 hours, right? Yet it's Biden. 2 years ago today, Donald Trump's Supreme Court majority ripped away the freedom for women to access the health care they need and deserve. Okay, no. The only thing this changed, the only thing Roe changed, was access to abortion. That is not healthcare. Abortion is not healthcare. And anybody who says different is lying. Right? Joe says abortion rights have won in every election where they were on the ballot since Roe was overturned. That's false, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But I mean, he's just obsessed with it. I'll keep doing everything I can to protect access to reproductive health care. And that language is wrong, right? So he just over and over and over, the Biden camp is tweeting about restoring abortion. And let's be clear. People who call themselves pro-choice are not pro-choice. They are pro-abortion. They prefer that you get the abortion. They are not pro, well, you could decide between keeping the baby and putting her up for adoption or murdering her in the womb. Right? No. They are pro-abortion. The objective is to get you into that Planned Parenthood where you will be told that you're better off without the baby. You will be talked into sacrificing the child on the altar of Moloch to secure a few more years of either hedonism or professional development instead of being a mother and learning what it means to be loved. And this is the reason. This is one of the core reasons. This is what the theory that Cameron advanced, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. One of the primary reasons that the Democrat is obsessed, not just with abortion being legal, but with the shout your abortion rallies, the women's rallies with the vagina hats, and all of that. Shout your abortion, go, and the not just pro-choice but pro-abortion. They want you to get that abortion because here's the truth of the matter. As a woman, once you have made the decision one time to murder your own unborn child, you are more likely than not to vote Democrat for the rest of your natural life. Because in order to do otherwise is to confess to yourself that what you did was not to have a routine medical procedure, but you will have to be honest with yourself, actually confess in order to vote against the agenda of the Democrat machine. You have to confess to yourself that what you did is murdered your own child. That is an incredibly difficult, painful thing to do. What they're doing by promoting abortion is they are attempting to force more women to have to vote Democrat or admit that they voluntarily murdered their own child for no reason other than their own hedonistic convenience. That is the entire reason for the Democrat obsession with abortion. And that's why they went from safe, legal, and rare to it should be freely available up to birth, sometimes after birth, and paid for by government. It should be what they're really looking for is essentially a vending machine where you go in and you put your feet up on a squatty potty and you walk out not knocked up. And it's paid for by government, by taxpayer dollars. That's the objective. That's what they're looking for. In fact, what they're really looking for is that with an automatic voter registration. Um, yeah, and in fact, it would not surprise me at all to start seeing offers being made by people like the Biden administration, like, hey, come into Planned Parenthood and abort that anchor baby, and we'll sign you up for to vote. So, yeah, His Majesty says vending machine with the morning after pill. I'm gonna actually push back on you on that one, old man, because with the morning after pill, it's less difficult to look yourself in the mirror and say, oh, that was just, you know, that was just a precautionary step. That I didn't actually kill the baby. I just stopped one from being put together. But once they've actually got a baby in them, and they go pay somebody to tear it out of them violently with tools, it gets a lot harder to argue that getting an abortion and automatic welfare, that's just about in place right now. But it gets a whole lot harder to argue with yourself that you didn't kill it on purpose. So I'm gonna play with this image just a little bit. We got this from CNN, and they've got this map up here. So I want to show you this one. Biden said abortion bans across the United States. Across the United States, these are the states that have abortion ban in effect as of May 1st, 2024. Abortion ban. I'm going to go ahead and say fact check false. Now, because so he lists Arizona and Utah on that list. Utah says a court has blocked the state from enforcing its trigger abortion ban, but an 18-week ban remains in effect. That doesn't sound like 18 weeks. That's not a ban, right? So Biden's position here is if you can't abort your child right up until they fail to graduate from law school, then you've got a ban on abortion, right? Now, this one says Texas abortion is banned with no exceptions for rape or incest. I'll get back to that in just a second. But Utah, you can still kill it up to 18 weeks, right? Up to 18 weeks out. What is it? 36 weeks? Oh, damn it. Yeah, 36 weeks. So, yeah, so you go through half a pregnancy and then say, kill it. Arizona, 15 weeks. Okay, that's nearly half. Nebraska, 12 weeks. Georgia, right here, banned as early as 6 weeks. That's a start. 6-week ban took effect in Florida. So Georgia and Florida both have basically a heartbeat bill. If the baby's got a heartbeat, and there's a good argument to be made that they have a heartbeat for that. So South Carolina, so you got South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida have heartbeat bills. North Dakota, abortion is banned with exceptions for rape and incest in the first 6 weeks of pregnancy. Abortion is banned in Missouri, and it says no exceptions for rape or incest. No exceptions for rape or incest, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Let me get you clean on something real quick. Exceptions for rape and incest. They love this language. And here's what I want you to remember. Whenever you talk to somebody about this topic, I want you to say, when they bring up the oh, well, what about rape or incest or health of the mother? Okay. 98% of abortion. And let's be fair. Let's use the super generous number that Planned Parenthood puts out. That's like 94%. 94% of abortions are elective. 94% of abortions are, I just don't want to have a baby right now. That is the vast majority. Of the remaining 6%, using Planned Parenthood's very generous estimate, the remaining 6%, less than 1% are account for rape and incest combined. The remaining are so-called life of the mother or health of the mother question. Let me put that in perspective for you. In the Virginia bill that Governor Northam was so famously on tape speaking about, where he said, well, once the bill's passed, well, if the child's born, then we can make the child comfortable, and then we can have a discussion about what to do with it. In that bill, it was made clear that in the event that the mother was incapacitated, right? Now, some of you in the chat right now are in fact mothers, have been through this. And many of the rest of you are fathers who have seen your wife go through this and understand what I'm about to explain. With or without medication, painkillers, etc., a woman after childbirth is exhausted. Absolutely exhausted. Under the bill that they tried to pass into law in Virginia, and this was meant to be a model for other states like California especially, it was made very, very clear that if the mother was incapacitated after the birth, then the doctor could make the decision to terminate the child after the child was born. If the doctor determined that raising the child posed a risk to the mother's health, and it went on to list her physical health, her mental health, and I shit you not, fact check me, I dare you, her economic health. It said that if the baby is born and the mother is incapacitated, and the doctor looks at that woman and says, I think this bitch is too broke to raise a baby, he could kill it without the mother's consent. That is where they want them. And so when they talk to you, and let me, okay, before I get to when they talk to you, I want to do this. I want to talk about this one more thing. The life of the mother, the health of the mother argument. I would argue that there are, if any, nearly no cases in which an abortion is the correct answer to save the life of the mother. And I will begin this argument with this question. Have any of you ever had any kind of surgery? Because let's be clear, there are no cases in which an abortion does not entail some sort of invasive procedure. You either take something to poison the baby and kill it, or you kill it and then have something approximating a C-section to remove the fetus whole, or the much more common method where the fetus is simply disassembled limb by limb with a pair of forceps and some other sharp tools. Okay? Whatever the health problem is that a mother is facing in childbirth, there is no such thing as an invasive medical procedure that does not increase risk. So an emergency C-section is probably, more often than not, your go-to correct solution. But you're going to try to tell me that you've got whatever condition, dropping blood pressure, and the solution is reach inside with a pair of forceps and start pulling off arms and legs until the baby has lost enough blood to die from its injury. That is, by the way, the most common procedure for the act. So I would go so far, and this turning guns says I would say it's higher, probably in the 99 percentile. I would agree with you because I am very dubious of the claim that an abortion is a viable mechanism to save the life of a woman who is in distressed labor. Introducing a poison or another invasive procedure only increases the risk to that woman who is already in distress. And even if the solution is to remove the baby as quickly as possible, there just is not an intelligent medical argument made that killing the baby first, i.e., adding an additional step before an emergency C-section, does not increase risk. St. Michael says they use the aborted fetal matter for pharmaceutical purposes, so money would be my first guess. Yeah, we all remember the Planned Parenthood expose that came out of Project Veritas back before OMG was spanking Disney for hating on white boys. I haven't even got to cover that story, y'all. I've missed covering a lot of stories because I've been out and sick and broke and hurt and fucked up for a couple weeks, and I've missed you guys too. And I hate to say it, but we're 10 minutes over now. I see Catherine Crowns joined us and dropped a comment, said good morning. Catherine, you have joined us after the show. The show is live every weekday morning for the most part. I just had a brief hiatus due to some medical issues myself. But we're live at 7:30 every weekday morning, Monday through Friday. Friday is the special when we do Firearms Friday. And I try to take it mellow on Mondays. We do a half hour, give or take. This morning, I've actually got to get down the road because I've got a doctor's appointment this morning that I need to get to. And so I'm going to have to put a pin in it there. But I appreciate you tuning in for the first time, Catherine. I hope you subscribe. We're on every major network. Facebook is the least of my networks, I think. Big on Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and growing on all of those. So if you're watching anywhere, I'd appreciate if you like and subscribe everywhere and help us grow the numbers, grow the channel, and get a little more reach out there. Because now that we're in the new location, there's going to be some new stuff coming down the pipe. It's going to be a hell of a ride for the next little while. So again, thanks for tuning in this morning, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.